Hala, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Duwada, Haba, Babo, Kor Kadash. I'd like to give double honors to the elders and apostles, Great Millstone, that teaches truth, which I believe through the Spirit, lined up with the scriptures, 100% of the truth. I'm going to do a lesson today about a dream I had last night, or a vision. And I'm going to start off with the definition of abomination and desolation. The word translated abomination means detestable thing. It refers to anything that must not be brought before God, Yahweh, because it arouses his wrath, and is used in the Bible of everything connected with idolatry. Desolation, joyless, disconsolate, and sorrowful, though as if through separation from a loved one, a desolate widow. And now to get to my dream, the dream I had was, I'm just gonna pretty much read it because I had to write it down because it's like early in the morning when I had this dream, like 2 or 3 in the morning. And so I'm just gonna read from what I remember from the dream. You know how dreams are. A lot of times if you don't write them down, you're gonna forget the pieces. So in this dream, a lot of our people period, I don't think it was just Israelites, I think a lot of people in general, people forced to leave their homes, forced into these places. In my dream, I kind of remember them as being like identification zones, you know. And when you go there, you get processed in, and then you're given a card to carry that had your information on it. And once they give you your card with the information, all your basic information on it, you were funneled down to another section, and all this is happening outside, 2 different sections and all that, you know. And to each zones, people were being separated from their families and friends. You know, every time you go to another zone, you know, people coming as a family, but each zone would break you down to another part where you separated more and more from your family. And then by the time you get to near the end of the zone, you find yourself that where you're by yourself. You know, you're not amongst any family or friends. And there were foreign troops patrolling in the first part of the zone areas. They had foreign troops. You know, they weren't speaking. They were speaking in a foreign language, from what I can remember. And the other zones were run by a few Jakes. They had Jakes mixed in with, you know, with these Edomites and these other foreign troops, and they were running a lot of these stations that were controlling the people, and kind of sending them down to the different processing stations. A lot of Jakes were doing a lot of patrolling too. You know, they were checking to make sure you were doing or going where you're supposed to go. So some of the people of our nation were included in this. And prior to that dream, I had a dream prior to that where I was in a house, kind of reminds me of my father's house, my dad's house, and there's a lot of gunfire, man. You know, you hear gunfire, usually, anybody that grew up in the hood, you can hear maybe about no more than 12, 15 rounds going off, you know, and then usually that's the end of it. But in this gunfire, man, you can hear where it's constantly going off, and you know, it's just going on for like maybe 4 or 5 minutes, you know, and you're like, man, when is this going to let up? You know, and it was almost like he was too afraid to go outside and investigate because it was real close to the house that we were sitting in. At the same time, you was wondering like if some type of insurrection is going on, do we need to flee, or do we just sit here, you know, and hunker down in the house and, you know, and just prepare ourselves, or not, you know. And that's how that dream ended. I just remember, you know, just kind of being in a situation of vulnerability, you know, not knowing what to do next. Then, like I said, after that, then I had the other dream about us, you know, going through these different check stations, and, you know, and we were being forced, you know, it was being forced into these different areas, and you're broken, and finally you were separated from your family, then you would kind of end up by yourself. So I kind of look at that, maybe as a time of Jacob's trouble, like it was before. If they're going to do it and they're going to implement anything like that, it's going to be a well thought out plan. It's something that they definitely thought through, and when they come down with it, it's going to catch a lot of Jakes off guard, man, because they're not prepared for these type of situations. So I'm going to start off with the prophet Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 5. For thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. As ye know and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it, even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So Jacob's trouble, man, is something that's been prophesied that's going to happen. And Jacob's trouble, if you want to give a close comparison to it, would be almost like the time of 70 AD in our homeland, when the Romans came through and sacked our homeland, man. They persecuted our people. A lot of Israelites were put to death. The men, women, and children, we were pretty much starved out, so it's talking about the famine, where a lot of people even had to eat their own, their own kids, man, eat their own Israelites, in order to be able to survive. So we're talking about that time now where this man has really had time to prepare, and he's thinking out of a long thought out plan to gather up you Israelites and try to definitely destroy the elect of our nation. Going to go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 14 through 15. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword, their destruction draweth nigh, and our people shall stand up and fight against another, and sword in their hands, sedition amongst men. So it's going to be a lot of fighting, inner fighting. You're going to have a lot of racial fighting. It's all type of, and you see how the land is now, man. There's a lot of inner turmoil, man. This nation has totally been divided, between the gender wars, between the racial wars. You got all type of different type of beefs that's going on, man, and it's like a time of sedition. And you see the anarchy was going on, and especially during the riots, a few years back, where a lot of these towns and cities was taken over, and you see Jakes from every now and then, they go through and they gather up forces and they overtake a certain part of a community. So that's talking about sedition amongst men, where they don't pay attention to the government. And that's what it seem like the higher ups are doing. They're trying to force our people to go off, that gives them a right, what they call the thing called order of chaos. They create a chaotic situation, and then they come in and bring order and implement, martial law, reasons to lock down, and to implement their plans. So it doesn't take much, man. This man has done a diligent search on our people. He knows what's going to trigger them, what's going to set them off, and all they do is wait for the opportunity so they can go ahead and implement their new world order. So we look up the word sedition. It's a noun. It's a conduct of speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. So you have a lot of people in higher up positions, man. They throw these false flags out there. They create situations that they know that's going to create a lot of chaos, and they can come in and and do what they want to do. A lot of us do propaganda, man. One thing about here in Babylon the Great, man, is we oversaturated with propaganda. They're always constantly pushing the narrative on our people. And one thing they do, they constantly demonize our people. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 16. I'm going to read from 16 on down to 19 in 2nd Ezra chapter 15. For there shall be sedition amongst men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And that sword is talking about the modern day gun. The sword could be any type of destructive device, but mainly it's talking about the modern day gun. And spoil their goods because of the lack of bread for the great tribulation. And you see that going on now, man, where they bum rushing a lot of these stores. Some people in their homes. You got a lot of strong arm where they come in and forget the name, what they call it, home invasions now. You know, that's very popular now, what they're doing. So it's a lot of these things that's going on, man. These things were prophesied to happen from way back. So, you know, us being in this truth, man, we're prepared so we know how to react when those times do come. 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 27. No, Shalakia. 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 22. For my right hand shall not spare the sinner, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. Woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, said the Lord. So we're definitely ordered to keep the Lord's commandments, man, to the best of our abilities. You know, we can't do it 100%, but we do it to the best of our abilities, being that we in our captivity and we up on our oppressors. 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 27. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For Yahweh shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him. So 2/3 of our people, man, are not going to be delivered. They're going to be destroyed. And the Lord's going to allow a lot of them to be destroyed by these Gerber troops that's going to be coming through. A lot of these white supremacists that's going to be coming through. So it's going to be hell out here. It's going to be like a nightmare here at Babylon the Great, man. It's going to be hell on earth. So Matthew chapter 24, verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on a housetop not come down to take anything out of the house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, or neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall the great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake. Those days shall be shortened. So if the Lord don't come back, man, all flesh is going to be destroyed, you know. So he has to come back in order to save his elect, you know, because these things are going to happen. And it's and this is talking about the time of 70 AD when they sacked our homeland, but it's also future prophecy what's going to happen today too, you know, in this end times, you know. You might be at the job when all this shit break off, and you might not be able to get home to get your things, you know, your clothes and some gear, whatever you need to hit the road. You might just have to take what you have on you and just kind of rely on you're going to have to rely on your faith in the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. He's going to look after you, man. He's going to carry you through as long as you keep the faith, man. And it's telling you, whether you're on a housetop, don't go back into the house, man. So some people may have a bug-out bag ready to pick up and hit the road or whatever, but you might not have the opportunity to go get that, but don't worry about it. The Lord is going to take care of you. Matthew chapter 24, verse 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or these believe it not. Because you're going to have a lot of people out here, these false pastors, these false Christians, that's going to, you know, lure you in the wrong way. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But you're not going to be deceive the elect, because the Lord has already anointed them from the beginning. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chamber, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so also shall the coming of Son of Man be. For whosoever the carcass is, there will eagles be gathered together. So it's going to be a lot of death on the earth, man. A lot of people that's not going to be buried. The birds, like the Lord said, the birds going to be able to eat good, man, during that day, because a lot of people, it's going to be a lot of death on the earth, man. A lot of death. So you got to prepare ourselves, man. How do we prepare ourselves? By fasting, meditating, and prayer. And purpose is good for fasting, not only because we afflict our souls and be able to connect to our Most High power, but it's good kind of preparing your bodies, these weak bodies that we in, because there may be some days that you may be able to go without food or water or those things, man. If you used to eat 5 times a day and you're grossly obese and you're going to have to hit the road, man, you're going to be an early casualty of the war, man. You're not going to be able to make it. So that's how we start preparing ourselves, man, for this time to come. And it's good to get out here and walk, man, and get your wind up. Get your exercise up, as much as possible, because you may need it in that day. You may not be able to get your car. And roads, pretty much, if you think about it, roads are going to be checkpoints, so things are going to be shut down. So you may have to hit the road walking, man, and get off the beaten trail, wherever the Lord may send you. So it's good to try to keep yourself in some type of physical shape, taking care of these temples that we're in, Amos chapter 5, verse 16. Therefore the Lord Yahweh, it's in all caps, the God of hosts, the Lord said thus, wailing shall be in all the streets, and shall say in all the highways, Alas, alas, and they shall call the husbandmen to mourning, and such are the skillful, and lamentations to wailing. So there's going to be a lot of crying in that day, man, a lot of wailing and moaning. And all that pride shit that's going on, man, that pride going to be tossed out the window, man. And that's why the Lord is coming back, because what they call is Pride Month, man. It's an abomination. So the Lord said pride comes before destruction. All that pride is going to be gone, especially off Eve, man. These women that don't have men, imagine when that day come, what they're going to do in that time when you don't have a man that's going to be a protection or hedge over you. They're going to be left pretty much holding on to them 3 or 4 degrees, that nice house, that Mercedes-Benz or that BMW, and it's not going to be able to save them that day, man. They're going to look for a man of the Lord. It's going to be too late, because you had time to correct yourselves and get it right, instead of being prideful and not want to be under a man, That's the problem here in Babylon the Great. A lot of these women do not want to be up under a man. They don't want that authority over them. Through her much liberty, man, she destroyed her own self. Amos chapter 5, verse 17. And in all vineyards shall the wailing, for I will pass through thee, saith the Lord. The prophet Ezekiel chapter 5, verse 7. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, Yahweh, because ye multiply more than the nations that are round about you, and have not walked in my statutes, neither have kept judgment, neither have done according to the judgment of nations that are round about you. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I, even I, am against thee, and I will execute judgment in the midst of thee, in the sight of the nations. So the Lord's coming down. He's going to bring swift judgment, man, on this place, mainly here in Babylon the Great, man. He's going to remove all that pride out of these people that walk around with their heads up and not doing what the Lord has asked them to do, man. The Lord loves a mourning heart, man. He loves a person that's with humility, man. Ezekiel chapter 5, verse 9. And I will do in thee that which I have not done, and whereunto I will not do any more than like, because of all thine abominations. Like I said, here we are again, here in June. Goddamn, they done turned this thing into a total abomination month, man. And it's throughout the whole year. You know, with the alphabet community, you know, they parading themselves, just doing all type of wickedness, but nobody speaks out against it. It's mainly these church houses, man. They're not going to speak out against that. It's against their 501c3 charter, I guarantee you. Ezekiel chapter 5, verse 10. Therefore the father shall eat the sons in the midst of thee, and sons shall eat their fathers, and I will execute judgment in thee, and the whole remnant of thee will I scatter into all the wind. So we got that famine coming. You know they're already setting that up, man. They know you can control the masses of the people mainly by the food and water. So they're going to starve you jakes out, man, for one. And like it's going to be like a time of 70 AD, man. You can be eating your own kids. Imagine the kind of condition you're going to have to be in, man. Because Jake, you know, this place has been fattened up like the cow, man, ready to be sacrificed, man. Like you fatten that cow up and getting them ready to be to go to the butcher. That's where this place is, man. People eating 3 or 4 times a day, calling DoorDash, going to hit the drive-thrus. You know, you got all type of food in excess easily at your hand. But wait till the Lord dry that up, man. And these people who used to having, what they're gonna do when they go without. And you can imagine 24 days or 2 days, 2 days without food, 24 hours, or 48 hours without food. Man, these people gonna lose it, man. When we lose it, it'll be a lot of sedition amongst men, man. A lot of killing, a lot of murder. All these things gonna go on here in Babylon the Great, man. And a lot of you women gonna be left out there, because 911 is not gonna be accessible, man. You women's gonna be the first ones. You women and the elderly, and the young, very young, is gonna be the main ones. That's gonna go out fast, man. These women that don't have men over them. Ezekiel chapter 5, verse 12. And a third part of thee shall die with the pestilence. So that's a lot of people. That's why I was saying a lot of the elderly, these women that don't have a hedge of protection, and a lot of these kids, man. A third part of thee shall die with the pestilence, and famine shall they be consumed in the midst of thee. And a third part shall fall by the sword round about thee, and I will scatter a third part in all the winds, and I will draw out the sword after them. Talking about the sword, talking about the modern day gun, man. 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 5. Behold, said the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For the wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. And the main place where that wickedness is being exalted is here in Babylon the Great, man. Matter of fact, she tries to push this on these other nations and countries. And the thing about it, man, our people don't say shit about it. You know, they turn a blind eye to it. They go along to get along, you know. And so the Lord's going to bring a great wrath on this place, man. If you with it, you're going to get that destruction right along with these heathens. So with that, I pray this lesson was edifying. With that, say shalom.